This week on SV Lynx. Welcome to this week's SV Lynx video. This week we had beautiful Southern California weather, so we were able to get a lot of boat work done, so let's get to it.
Yeah, we want to get started because we got so much to show you guys, so let's go. We're here on a Monday morning getting the week started, and the first thing we had to do was, now that we've got these walls in, was figure out if this mechanism that we have for steering is going to work, or if we're going to have to modify this in some way. So what we did is we dug a hole down here so that the rudder will sit in there. Then we clamp the box in about where it goes. It doesn't actually matter exactly where the height of this is because this can move inside that tube. And what we really needed to know was, will this piece be too tall for the deck right here? Now obviously it looks like it's too tall for the deck over here, but this is the emergency rudder piece. This comes off, and this is what has to be flush with the top of this deck right there. And right now we're within an 1/8 inch or 2 millimeters, and we're not sure exactly, you know, our accuracy level right now is not 2 millimeters or 1/8 of an inch. So in essence, it looks like it's just about perfect. And enough so that we're not going to worry about having to do any customizations. And we already checked on the far side over there as well, and it is also ready to roll. So these mechanisms are going to work. Now, we've got this in here backwards. This arm actually sticks through this wall. But we haven't cut the hole yet, so we couldn't do that. So we just reversed it for this little test right now. But one of the next things we're going to do is start cutting the hole that goes through there. And so we're going to get some measurements right now and take a look at that. We're back to working on our inspection hatches and getting their 5 coats of West System epoxy resin on them. And of course our repair on this one diesel tank lid. We just made a mistake on that one, so we had to redo it. So this is the new and improved model. But these are the 4 hatches that we'll use to inspect the tanks and clean them out if we ever have to get in there and vacuum out some diesel bug or just clean the tanks out. So we needed these hatches to get into those. So I'll be working further on these as soon as this process is done. We've got to drill and core the tops, and we have to drill and core the place they're going to bolt into, and then we have to embed a nut in epoxy in there so that we can bolt these down. So a bunch of little work to go there, but today I hope to get 2 coats of resin on here. All right, this afternoon we'll put on coat number 4. I just made these 4 little boxes right here, and what these are for is they're going to go on the inside of the Kickup rudder box area, and they're going to hold the 3D printed latching system that I'm putting for locking down the Kickup rudder that will, when the rudder gets hit, will release and let them up. So it's a little thing under tension, and it has to have somewhere to live in. So we're building these 4 little boxes, and they go in these corners right here. So this will be a little box, and then we'll be cutting a little slot in here so that when the rudder comes down, there's a pin that comes down through that slot, and it will lock into this 3D printed mechanism. And then there'll be a hatch on top of here that gives us access to that mechanism if we ever need to change it or adjust it or do anything like that. There's a little hatch here that goes on top of this little box we're building. So that's all to do with that. Okay, well, it's time to glue on the lid on top of the starboard Kickup rudder box. And then on Wednesday, we're going to tab the inside of it and put the end piece on. That will get us most of the way on this. There's a little extra work that we didn't do that we're going to do though. And that's on the end here. Something we didn't add, which was a handle, and I've decided to put one in so that we can grab right here when we want to pull it up manually and lift it. You know, we could have reached down to the bottom and grabbed it in the water and pulled it up, but that's just a pain. So we're going to put a little handle at the top here to lift up, but I don't want a handle that sticks out. So we're going to recess one into the back of it. So as soon as we get this glued on, I'm going to start working on that. So down this right here. Up the other side, or down the other side, whichever you feel strongly about. Right. Sealed up all the way around except the end here so that we can come in and tab the tops of this. That's always fun. We've done it once on the other one though, so we know we can do it. Now time to get these little side pieces in here. And we're gonna have to put a couple blocks to hold them in on each side. We got those ready. I already cleaned all this, so I just need some epoxy, and Brian's just about to deliver that up to me. Oh, that's sweet. Looks good. Okay. Get the other one on over here. Direct sun.
Good morning, everybody. Today is XO Brian's birthday. So he's taking the day off, but Phil and I are going to take care of some other business that we need to attend to. Since we've been working on the rudders and rudder boxes, it's time to turn our attention to the steering bar. So we're off to a couple of fabricators to get some quotes on having that bar made.
So this is the model of the steering system that Schoening sent over to us. And if you look up here is where the wheel is the ship's wheel. And this is a chain with a gear. And then this comes down to some pulleys that will take our line from the steering on down here. And that brings it over to where it attaches to the bar over here. And then once we get to that stage, we have this aluminum bar that I just highlighted here. This is all part of it. And that's the piece that we need to get fabricated, and that's what we're out looking for right now. And we already have the rest of it, so this is the piece that we have to have made right now. Now, it is too big to fit into the boat as the boat is already constructed. If we'd had this and sort of built around it, we could have had it as a single piece, but that would have been very, very difficult. So this is going to be divided into two pieces so that we can insert it from each end of the boat. And that division is probably going to be separate. And now it'll be inserted into this one. And so there'll be a little joint between the two. We insert these in from each end of the boat. And then this is where they tie into the steering mechanism down here, which uses a tie rod to connect over to our next piece over here. And this is part of the steering mechanism that we already have. So the only other thing is going to be these bearings that are right here. There's 5 of them. And these are friction bearings that this bar made out of square tube aluminum slides back and forth in. But I don't really like those friction bearings. Also, they're expensive. I'd like something that has less friction to it, so I want to create a wheeled system that will allow us to roll back and forth rather than have friction sliding back and forth. So let me show you what that is going to look like. So instead of a friction bearing like this one on here, what I'm going to do is build a wheeled bearing like this, where there are 4 wheels on all sides of the bar, and it will roll a lot smoother and a lot nicer on that. And then it's just bolted to the wall through these areas back here. So these are the bolts that go back into the wall. And if I need to take this apart later, I can just pull those 2 bolts out, take the nuts off these 4 at the top here, and this whole top section lifts off and the bottom drops out. And I can service this and replace these wheels as necessary. And these wheels will just be skateboard wheels. And I could go with just the bearings, but then it's metal running on metal here, and that's going to wear. But if I use the urethane skateboard wheels here, then as that will protect this aluminum bar rolling back and forth. And if these wheels wear out, I can tighten these nuts up and as they wear and keep them snug. And once they wear out, these are fairly inexpensive. I could just pull it apart, replace these 4 wheels, and easy peasy to fix. So I'll just build 5 of these little contraptions. Now that looks really complex compared to this, but the difference is that as complex as this looks, it's going to roll a lot nicer, and it's more adjustable and easily replaceable. These cost a ton of money to buy. This whole thing here is maybe 1/8 the price of one of these. It's so much less expensive to build these. The skateboard wheels are not much. This is about $10 worth of skateboard wheels. These are just threaded rods. And then there's just a bunch of nuts, L brackets, and a couple of quad pieces here. And that's all it is. So it's very inexpensive to build. Maybe $20 to build one of these. And where these bearings are hundreds of dollars. So you'll see me construct these pretty soon. And I'm sure that they'll work just fine for rolling this bar back and forth. There'll be 5 of them just where these friction bearings are currently shown in these positions here. So I'll build 5 of them for $100 instead of purchasing 5 of them for somewhere around $200 each. So that's $1,000 worth of bearings I can do for $100. But this is the piece we need to have fabricated. So we're going to find a fabricator today and get them to work on this. Wednesday, and we're starting off Wednesday with getting these lips on all of our shelves done. We prepared them all a while back, but we haven't got them in here yet, so they're going in now. All right, to the front. Continuing our work on the lips. These are two removable shelves that are over the escape hatch, so we don't have to do those in the boat. So we brought them out here. I'm going to go in the hulls and check what we did in there. Unfortunately, it's been more than 24 hours again, so we had to sand these access hatches into one redone tank lid so that we can put the next couple layers of resin on. We're back to working on the sugar scoops and the Kickup rudder area. And this morning we've already glued in our boxes here on both sides. And these are going to hold my 3D printed mechanism. So there'll be a little notch right here that the rod in the Kickup rudder will come down through and lock into this mechanism here. And then there'll be a lid that we can open up and down on here. But the lid's going to land on the top edge of this, which we will core and fill, so it's a hard edge. But over here, we can't really just glue to this because it's just foam. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to put in some L brackets along here. And that way we have something more substantial to glue to on this. And we'll continue those all the way around the edges of this as well. So that'll give us something to glue this top down to except foam. Because we can't come inside and tab this, because once we put this on, there's no getting into it to do any tabbing. So we have to make sure that that's very solid from the inside. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to glue on all these L brackets on this side and that side. And it's a little warm today, even though it's wintertime here in Southern California. The temperature is, right now, it's about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, or that in Celsius. So not overly hot, but it's warm. And doing epoxy in the direct sunlight in this kind of temperature is sets up way too fast. So we've got these shade things up over both of our sugar scoops here so that we can safely epoxy these in right now. So Brian's over there mixing once again, and I'm going to get to cleaning up these edges and such, like ready for epoxy. All set. We've got both sides with our L brackets all clamped on. So come Friday, we will be able to start looking at gluing down the tops onto it. We're up on the cabin top today, and the reason being is that we need to put some paint on here. We've already got all the coats of epoxy primer done, and now we need to get a coat of paint on here so that we're not painting the whole roof. We're just going to paint a stripe over this because we want to mount the Mainsail Track here. And that'll seal up all these holes so that we have another rain. We don't get water leaking in through there. And we're just painting wide enough that we can sand along either edge when we do the rest of the paint, because the rest of it's going to have a non-skid on it. So we just need to get some down so that the track doesn't have to be removed again when we go to do the other paint. So that's what we're doing right now. So we got some Alexial 501, slightly bluish tinged paint. Hard to see that that's slightly bluish tinged, but it is on there. If I put something really white next to it, you'd see it. But that's what we're doing with the entire top. Right now what we're working on is cutting in our hatches for our Kickup rudder mechanisms. So Brian's going to cut that out, and the end result is like this one, which I will show you in a momentarily. And we're working on all of the deck pieces for the sugar scoops, and we're pouring and filling all of these different edges, the hatch edges, these edges here. But we ran out of epoxy, so Brian's mixing up some more right now, and we're going to switch over and finish these. So I only got just the beginning of it done here, so I've got this side, the other half of this, and the whole other port side over there to do. Okay, all right, well, that's one more job done. Got all these cored and filled. So we're gonna move on and get one more job done today, which is put another, we've already put one on this morning, but a second resin coat on the diesel tank lids. And that will just about conclude, I believe, those. So we're getting our second coat of the day here onto our tank lids, and one tank lid that we redid and 4 inspection hatches for them. There. All set. Saturday, and I've got Brian and Jeff here working on the boat, and what we're getting ready to do is put down the mainsail track. And in order to do that, the first thing we have to do is put Tef gel all over the 34-inch bolts that go down through here, because the track itself is aluminum and the bolts are stainless steel, and so you have galvanic corrosion issues. So we have to coat all of the bolts. And then we have to put a piece of beetle tape around each of the bolts where it goes into the hole to create a seal for water to get into there. So this is all ready to go in, but we've got to prep all of those bolts before we can then come up here, put all those bolts with the Tef gel on them and start wrapping the beetle tape on, and then we'll lower the whole thing into the part. Then we go below and start threading from the top and somebody from the bottom there to line it up to get this cinched down. So right now, Brian and Jeff are down here. So let me get on down to the boat here. And there, sitting in here, working on all of the bolts. Hello. So it's just a little more comfortable to sit at one of the tables inside the boat in the shade and work on these, because it's a slow process getting these bolts fully covered and all of that down into the threads everywhere. So they'll be at that for a little while. Meanwhile, I'm going to do is start working on something else while they do that, and they'll let me know when they're finished. All right, so we've got all of our boats Tef gelled, every bit of the surface of them, and now we're inserting them in and putting a little bead of butyl tape around each one of them to get ourselves a seal here when we put it all down. All right, see if you can get it to go into all of these things to go into their holes. I think so.
All right.
All right. Okay, so the next thing is I got to go downstairs and you guys got to screw these in.
For our final topic this week, we wanted to refer back to last week's video in which we asked a question or a request for comments from people on their suggestion for how to keep water from going in this hole that we're going to be putting here.
Right, if you remember, this arm sticks through a hole here, which we haven't drilled yet, and we were concerned about how we were going to deal with water getting up into that hole, and there were various suggestions by people, and thank you all so much for making those suggestions. But in the end, what happened was we're not going with anything I talked about in that video. As I also mentioned, I was going to check with Schoening to see what they had for a suggestion. And I want to point out something here about Schoening in this. This mechanism is not part of the kit. So it's not in the plans, which is why I couldn't look it up. So this little device here that we had made was made separate from the kit. Now, it was made in South Africa. Schoening had that done. They offered to have it made for us, but it really wasn't part of the kit, so none of the plans showed how it worked. So it really wasn't a fault of the plans here. So I just didn't understand it, and once they explained it to me, it made all kinds of good sense, because here's the way it works. This will insert into here like so. Now I'm going to turn it around because I don't have a hole yet, but it'll be sitting in here. And if you'll notice these two white pieces here, well, this one's going to come through a hole in the deck up here. And then we're going to add a piece down here, which it goes through a hole in it down here. And so this piece will be bonded in here with that hole through it. And then there'll be a piece here between the, sealing this up. So this becomes a completely sealed box. And out of the top and the bottom of that box, this is sealed to the top and bottom. So no water can get in to where this hole is. And so that's the answer, is there is no problem, because they made this properly, and upside down, made this properly. And so this will keep the water from going out. These stay fixed because they're bonded, and the black part just turns. So there you go. But we'll get on to that. Next week. So thank you all for watching this week's video, though. And we didn't quite get this top laid down on here, but it's all prepped and ready to go. All we have to do is clean and bond on Tuesday. Monday's a holiday. But we're not taking any days off. We're just not going to work Monday, but we're going to work Thursday that we normally take off. So we're going to work the same amount of days this week. But anyway, thank you all for watching. We'll see you next week for that.
Yes, and thank you all for spending time with us. Thank you to our patrons listed here. We couldn't do this project without you guys, and we appreciate you all. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
In the next video, we're going to get some of this done. I'm hoping to be able to walk on this and all glued down by next week. But we're working on other things next week as well. So we see you then for that.
Bye.